Welcome everyone to Manufacturing Talk Radio. This is our video version. And we are very excited at Jacket Media Company, which is our parent, to introduce a new show that we're launching. Lou Weiss cooked this up with the CEO of the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Program, John Kennedy. And John is with us here today, Lou, and he's going to be talking about the manufacturing partnership.
Thanks for joining us, John, and thanks for participating in the up-and-coming regular show. We'll talk about that show in a few minutes, but there are a lot of people that need to be educated a bit on what MEP is and what NIST is. And they'll get a better understanding as to why we're doing the show. So you have the floor.
Well, thank you. I think that you should have your head examined for having an engineer oversee a talk radio show. You know how we are. So congratulations on that level. But
well, we're going to be sending you to Commentator University.
All right.
MSNBC has one.
Sounds good. But, you know, I mean, Lou, you and I and Tim have gotten together quite a bit. You've supported a lot of our programs over the years, Manufacturing Day, which is a national event, and so many others. You know, the NIST MEP program has been around for now going into its 33rd year. And what it is it's part of the Department of Commerce, the U.S. Department of Commerce, and NIST is our National Institute of Standard and Technology. The MEP is the part that I have been engaged with for the last 8 years in the state of New Jersey. That's the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And the reason why it's called a partnership is because it connects 51 of us centers. Each state and Puerto Rico has a center. And our mission is pretty darn simple. Our mission is to engage, support, and continue to work with the manufacturers in your particular region. In New Jersey, that means 11,000 companies or so. It means almost 400,000 employees that are involved in this area. It includes STEM companies, the engineering companies. It includes some logistics companies because that is manufacturing. And what I usually tell people is that we look at 4 of our own pillars. You know, that's the catchword of today. So pillars. You know, we assess companies. We go in and take a look at them. We see what they are. We have about 40 experts on our staff. You know, we're not experts in government. We're experts in business and technology and manufacturing. And then we come back with plans and how we can do that. Sometimes the plan includes consulting. Sometimes we can do it. Sometimes we find somebody that can. We do a lot of training, a lot of workforce development. And that 4th pillar is an odd one for us. It's called advocacy. And you guys have helped us a great deal. In fact, Lou, you actually, in your role as a manufacturer, actually testified in front of the New Jersey State Legislature on supporting the industry itself. So those are the 4 areas. Interestingly enough, though, it's that national network to me that is so critical. In my past life, I owned an engineering company. I owned a manufacturing company. So I know the work from that side. The work from this side, the MEP side, the partnership side is the critical one. So in a nutshell, that's my answer, Lou.
Well, all of what you said, and there's actually so much more about what the MEPs do, not only in New Jersey, but all over the country. I think there's, 50 or 51 MEPs in 51. Who's the lucky one?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, right. So you and I and Tim, we've been talking about, you got to, the name of the game in marketing, obviously, is to get the message out, to get to many of the people that really need the help and the aid and so on, particularly in this time of COVID virus, uncertainty, the economy, politics. There, I said it. I'm sorry. I'll get beaten with a wet noodle later about that. But the point is that we're here to help you get the message out, and we think that you having a show where you can invite guests from other agencies, other MEPs, success stories, companies that you've helped to succeed at whatever the goal is that they wanted to. You can talk about government policy as it relates to manufacturing. News and technology is something that it's so hard to keep up with. So with every possible methodology to get the message out about technology is just phenomenal. Funny story, side story. Boston Dynamics came out with a video that went viral, and it's all about robots doing rock and roll dancing and doing the twist and so on. And I doubt very much if there's anyone listening to the show that hasn't seen it. If you haven't seen it, look up Boston Dynamics and you will be amazed. The first thought that comes to your mind is that this is not real. Folks, this is real. We want to get the message out. We want to get you to be able to accomplish the goals and methodologies that you need to accomplish. And hence, we are going to be doing a show the last Friday of every month. We'll be doing social media. I'm sure that John and his band of, what name did you call yourself before? It wasn't pleasant, but all right. So anyway, we will be marketing this and social mediaing this thing to the manufacturing sector. And I think that you and your people will make quite a contribution to what's going on out there in the big bad world. Tim?
Well, Tim, I want to twist you a little bit because you were the brains behind the name of the show, and I wanted to, as you speak now, tell us what your thoughts about where we lead on this.
I'm really excited, John, about what you're doing. When we first met you some years ago and began to learn ourselves what a manufacturing extension program does as part of the MEP, which is part of NIST, which is part of the Department of Commerce, it became quite apparent to us that this was a really good solution for manufacturers and an excellent place to go. What we are interested in and why we're excited to do this show with you is getting that word out so that every manufacturer, doesn't matter what size they are, can reach out to their local office or the MEP headquarters in their state and hear about the wonderful services that are offered through the MEP. And I think that's a really powerful program you've got, John. And, just for the sake of those who may not be familiar with it, what are some of the experiences you have had with manufacturers where they came to you and said, John, we've got this problem. What do we do? John?
Well, it runs the gamut. As I said, the first pillar was assessment. So you look at a company, there's a lot of issues that companies have, not only in New Jersey, but across the country about filling open workforce development positions, right? So, open positions is key. So you got to be able to create programs and find ways to find people. That is number one, in what we've been doing the last few years, developing apprenticeships, working with the New Jersey Department of Labor, the U.S. Department of Labor, trying to get these positions filled properly, because you can't have a company without, you know, people that are trained up and upskilled to be able to handle them. Other things, a lot of companies still have issues with Lean Six Sigma, you know, and process controls. So we'll get our experts in to help them do that. Another is ISO, which is a quality structure, as we all know, but it's not necessarily a quality program until you implement it properly. So we'll walk people through those programs. But then we get even away from the technical aspects: supervisory training, management training, business development training. How do you create the proper website? So what we do is try to listen through those assessments and find the areas that we need it. As I mentioned before, NJMEP has about 40 full-time staffers, but that doesn't include our resource team, which has another 70 people that literally, you know, bring some of this knowledge directly in plant. You know, not lately, it's been virtual, but there's some of them are still in plant to these companies. We work very hard to try to keep the costs down, and our resource team, many of them give us breaks on their normal rates so that we can help especially the small and mid-sized companies. When we can, we try to look for grants that might help a company overcome. And we also look for groups, you know, that can get the word out there. We call them affiliates, and you guys sort of span a lot of that, you know, in your efforts because of what you've done from the industry, from the inside out. And, you know, those affiliates are law firms and banks and CPAs and insurance companies. We don't do that work, but we vet these companies and we work with them to educate them about small and mid-sized manufacturers so we can bring them to companies. This is the key aspects of it. We've got to support this industry. It drives us. If we didn't learn something from the last couple of years with tariffs and with the COVID crisis, if we didn't learn how important our manufacturers and supply chain is, and I'm not sure we'll ever learn, but as you guys are testament, we're not going away, and we're not going away quietly, and we're not going away soon.
Well, John,
I've heard that about you, John.
It was all a lie.
Well, the manufacturing partnership that will be a podcast very much like what you're watching now that airs every Friday. Lou, you helped formulate some of those ideas. So let me toss it over to you and get your thoughts on the manufacturing partnership.
Well, I think that at least in the beginning, I think there should be a fair amount of sharing data, as you did in the beginning of this conversation, about what MEP is, because you'll always be getting new people tuning into the show. And so they really, you need to have an intro line about who you are and what you are. I think that having success stories and the telling of stories is a very strong motivator. Interviews with thought leaders who can talk about new methodologies, technology, the direction that companies can and should go, government policy people, as it relates, again, to manufacturing. We have, and I will say it, I feel as though that we are about to go into a period of reconstruction of the American Republic. Infrastructure being one, bridges and roads and so on. You know, maybe we can bring back Franklin D. and have him reinitiate the New Deal, which worked, and no one has ever brought it up again. So They like beating their heads and finding new ways to screw up. New Deal worked, the CCC worked, and you need to have people talking about these things. You as an organization, with the amount of exposure that you have to the manufacturing sector, your message can be very meaningful to a third of our economy.
Well, I would say to 100% of our economy, because be honest with you, everything you see, touch, or use every day was manufactured by somebody. You talked about infrastructure, precast concrete, structural steel that's built for those programs, housing, the windows are manufactured, doors are manufactured. It all ties together. And I'm not trying to be arrogant about an industry that's been my entire life for the last 35 years. I'm just trying to be realistic. And Lou, you hit the nail on the head, is that people don't necessarily want to hear me speak. They want to hear others. So I do want to be able to bring in, hopefully we'll get some government people that will step up and maybe people like, from the New Jersey governor's staff, but also the manufacturing caucus that exists here successfully in New Jersey. Maybe some people from NJMEP and from various other groups, to be able to speak openly about issues, not politics, because you know what? We speak enough about that. So I want to be, how can we change things? Certainly, every monthly program's going to have another center director or center person from another state. We've already got 11 lined up to go, and I'm excited about that, so that we can hear.
I'm glad our cameras work today.
Yeah, so we can find, but these are the voices, so you can understand and how our network works. If I don't have a program that fits in New Jersey, I'm calling up Wisconsin. I'm calling up the guys I know in Rhode Island and Wyoming, and see what they've got, and not reinvent the wheel, and to be able to apply that. Companies that have offices in multiple states, not just huge companies. There's a lot of smaller firms that do as well. We can provide consistent work. And I also want to be able to have a little fun in changing perception, because the perception has been for a long time that manufacturing is dead, that manufacturing doesn't exist in the New Jersey area, in the country, and that it's so far from real, but it's had its effect. It's pushed the industry underground, and it's also pushed young people from wanting to enter this industry. And it's phenomenal, high tech, it's amazing. But so I want to do some things. One of the things I'm thinking about is what I'm calling the fast five questions of every guest. Just asking quick, fast 5 questions, and get that immediate response, because that immediate response shows perception, and we've got to break perception. Manufacturing ain't dead. You guys are big examples, since you manufacture as well.
We're trying to get the message out. I've been doing what I've been doing for 60 years, and I expect another 20 or 30 anyway. So I want to make sure there is manufacturing. John, I wish you luck. The first show is on January 3rd Friday of January. I don't have the date in front of me. Anybody, somebody in my ear?
Yeah.
It's the last Friday of January, whatever that might be.
That's it. Well, we're going to be doing a lot of social media, and we're going to get the story out. We'll be publishing an article about this, I'm sure, ultimately in our Manufacturing Outlook e-zine, which is free and you can subscribe to. So I suggest that you go to our website, manufacturingtalkradio.com, and you'll see. I know I'm taking Tim's closing line, and I'm getting kind of a glinted eye, like. So what, Tim? Why don't you take over? And John, thanks for being on the show, and we'll be talking more and more with you about your show.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Tim, bring us into close. Is that the proper, vernacular?
Yeah.
Well, you're the host. You tell us.
Well, we appreciate everyone tuning into this, and be sure to tune into the Manufacturing Partnership, where John Kennedy, CEO of the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Program, talks to the voices of manufacturing. And thank you for listening to this episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio, which you can find at jacketmediaco.com. That's the website, and the links to the other shows that are there as well. And we appreciate you tuning in to this show, all of our shows, as often as you can. Bye for now.